what's up? This is Just Plain Nonsense.
This is Michael.
And this is Rob. And these are three ladies that we have here. We got Amanda. You guys know her.
Hello.
Hey, girl. Who you're going to find out her name in a little bit. And then this is Mykah. I had to think about it for a second. I looked at your face and I was like, what's your name?
Feels good. Thanks, Rob.
Okay, so since we did relationships from the male perspective, we've been talking about wanting to do relationships from the female perspective. And we finally got enough females together at one point to sit here and actually talk about some stuff. What's happening? Why are things happening behind me? Well, were you holding up the number 4?
3.
Oh, 3.
Was I holding up 4?
No, I think you were doing 3.
I'm 4
I just imagined. Okay, so
I can't go.
so we wanted it to be balanced and fair. So we're gonna have them come in and talk about the same kind of stuff that we were talking about, and then they're just gonna take it away. So Michael and I are gonna get out of here and let them have at it. So
We're the boss now.
yeah, you guys take it away.
Hi. I feel like I'm a newscaster immediately. It is funny. Okay, so we're talking about female or male relationships. No, I'm sorry. Relationships from the female perspective. Yep. I'm Mykah.
And I'm Sydney.
Amanda.
And yeah, we're going to get started. Do you have a topic you wanted to start with, Sydney?
Yeah, we can first start out with the topic of, is love enough? So we know they get, we have relationships and stuff, but what really holds it together,
Yeah.
So is love really enough? So I guess we can kind of start out as like, everybody kind of has a different definition of what love is. Mm-hmm. Some people, it's like, it's a connection. It's like that spark that holds people together. But I've been married for a long time, so to me, I have a different definition. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's like different kinds of love. I think the romantic love, like when we were listening to the men's version of the podcast, they're like, "Oh, love's not enough because love is the thing that like makes you want to like do your wife and like be with her in that way." And it's like I feel like they think of it more as specifically the attraction part and not like all the actual work that comes into like being in a relationship or a marriage in particular. So I think that's why they were saying it wasn't enough, when I think we're thinking about it more from the perspective of, well, love is what makes us, continue to fight for the relationship and make compromises and
Yeah.
Well, and love isn't just like a feeling.
No,
it's like a
absolutely
choice.
not. Right.
It's like, oh, well, today I don't love my husband because I'm mad at him. Like, no, you still love him because you're choosing to love him.
You just don't like him, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think like there's this whole concept, especially in like, I think today's age, there's this whole concept where it's like, well, I'm not in love with you. Like I love you, but I'm not in love with you anymore. Mm-hmm. And basically what in love is it is like Amanda was saying, it's that conscious decision to wake up and say, I'm going to sacrifice more for that other person. Yeah. It's not really a feeling. It's just a choice of consistently sacrificing. And so I don't know. I personally think that love is enough, because love can be exemplified, for an example, when you're in an argument. If you really love the other person, you can continue to argue, and like you may be right, but you can also just be like, is this argument really worth the division that it's causing? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's just taking that extra step to be like, I love this person, I'm going to make a choice to just end the argument here and maybe, apologize even if you weren't wrong. And that just comes from like years of marriage. That's where that's coming from. But I can see where, if you were dating or something, you don't really get that insight immediately. It's more based off of like an emotional reaction when you first start dating a person, because that, I guess, wisdom isn't there in your relationship yet. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
I feel like we should share where we're at in our relationships too. I'm in like a 2.5-year relationship, not married.
Yeah.
You can go.
Yeah. I have been married. I've been married for several years. I've been with my husband now for almost a decade. So.
I've been married for just a year yesterday. And me and my husband, we've been together since we're like 10, so like 12 years now.
Wait, 10?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you guys were together for that long.
Wait, so have you been together longer than she and Michael have been?
Pretty much,
How long have you guys been together?
8 years.
Yeah, so.
That's wild.
Me and Shay, yeah. So
Or
12
like
years.
9 years, actually been together 9 years. But
Yeah.
yeah, 12 years, that is a long.
Wait, so when he was like 10-year-old Shane asked you to be his girlfriend.
Yeah, with like a little crystal, like literally on the playground.
That's cute.
I know.
So, okay, did you guys like break up in between
Yeah,
that time?
well, we broke up. We dated for like between 5th and 6th grade. We broke up for 7th grade. And then we dated in 8th grade again.
That's wild.
And then we broke up in freshman year. And then we've been dating since sophomore year, like straight. So like
Yeah.
all together we were like separated for like a year and a half between all that. So
That is crazy. So you guys are like all you know.
Yeah.
Like,
That's crazy.
yeah, he's
So you
the
have a
only
totally
person I've
different
ever kissed
perspective.
like my whole life. So
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. That's amazing.
that's amazing.
I feel like that
yeah.
would be great. Like when I was like 10 years old, funnily
Yeah.
enough, my grandma gave me this book, and it was like a very religious, like Southern Baptist grandma gives her like
Yeah.
way too young granddaughter, saying like you should only be with one person because you know like once you be with other people, it like slowly diminishes that. I didn't personally experience that.
Yeah.
But you're like the real life story of what my grandma was trying to get me into.
Yeah.
But that's awesome, and it's
Yeah.
like worked out great for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is
Yeah.
neat. Yeah, Michael and I, we didn't get together till later in life. Like, I think we both experienced us being single. Mm-hmm. When I say single, I think like wild and single.
Yeah.
And then like, you know, doing all that and then being together. But that's a totally different experience because as we got married, we did have to work through certain things, and we experienced the jealousy and the exes calling, and then like comparing.
I want to hear about those.
Oh, okay. I'm kind of.
I've never had that happen where like an ex has like even contacted me while I was with it. Like I've been very blessed. It's been like I've only had 3 relationships, and the first 2 were like clean breaks. Like we wouldn't even be friends. So bye.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like Michael had to go and get the car that he bought his ex while him and I were together.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, and so it was just like, and so to me, I was kind of like crazy. I mean, I was in my young 20s, and you know, I was super emotional all the time, and I still am. But I mean, I had like no self-control at that point.
Yeah.
So I was, and so I don't know. There was a lot of history that he had, and there was a lot of history that I had, and we experienced. You know, I'm from San Diego. We lived there when we started dating. So walking in the street and then like seeing one of my exes or a guy that I dated or whatever, and then
my
just
God.
like that.
Awkward.
I've never had that happen
Awkwardness.
either. The only thing I've had happen was I briefly, like even close to that, I briefly went on 3 dates with a guy, which is a really weird number of dates to go with someone, I feel like, and not like have it continue.
Yeah.
But it was like, let's try it 3 times. But I feel like we both knew by the 3rd time, like, you know, it was a nice thought, but it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And he randomly contacted me a couple months after I was in my relationship with Benny, who is my current boyfriend, and was like, hey, do you want to like go to this like salsa class together? And it was so random because I was like, aren't we done with this? Like,
Yeah.
we didn't click. He was like, he's very, I don't know, effeminate and serious, which are like 2 things I'm like not.
Yeah.
So not necessarily looking for. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I was in a weird place. Like, my relationship was official, but I was like, is he asking his friends? Because I had hung out with this guy as friends
Yeah.
before. And also, my boyfriend has a ton of female friends, which I know some women can't handle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, he would maybe do it. So I was like, okay. Like, I'll, like, let him know that, sure, let's go do this. So I went, and I told him, I didn't tell my boyfriend until after, and it... Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah,
'cause it was,
not a good-
and it wasn't like a date even, but it was like, I don't know. I was at a point where I was like, well, he has all these female friends, and I wasn't secure with it yet. That I was like,
Yeah.
I can go hang out with my male friend. Like, it's salsa dancing, but whatever.
Yeah.
And the whole time it was extremely awkward. And I was like, why did this guy ask me here? We do
Yeah.
not vibe at all. Like, this is the most awkward experience ever. It was a disaster.
I think that's one thing actually that was like always weird or like, weird for me was whenever a significant other had a bunch of female friends. Like, and I think like it's fine at first, but when you get to a certain level where you become really serious, there's definitely like some boundaries that have to be drawn. Like, once you get to that point.
Definitely. Salsa dancing is like a big no-no, especially if you're not going in a group.
It's like a
And
sexual kind of dancing.
It's like the worst thing you could do is probably salsa dancing. It's like, do you want to go like nude hot tubbing? Like, yeah, that's normal.
What, t-shirt contest? We can be together. Yeah.
Rob's like giving us thumbs up. He wants to hear more about what t-shirt contest is what I'm like taking from that.
Don't
Has
do that
anyone
if you're
been in a
married.
wet t-shirt contest?
I haven't been to a wet t-shirt contest, but I will tell you that before Michael and I were married, like he has had his fair share of experiences. He's traveled around the world and done that. But I think I did too. Like I think we both got it out of our system, if you will. But I used to go to like raves, and it was like they've had similar things happening like during that stuff. Like, you know, there were wet t-shirts everywhere.
Yeah.
But it's there. Yeah. And then again, now I don't do that obviously, but there's a certain point where that gets cut off. And you see married people all the time, or people who date that still want to do that. And so it kind of brings you into like the topic, what are you looking for in a relationship when you're dating a person? You know, like some people don't think like, oh, I might marry this person in the future. And that it kind of goes into like, what are some huge turnoffs? You know what I mean? Like what turns you off, or like what would make you not want to pursue that person or continue dating them?
Yeah.
And one of the biggest ones for me before I even met Michael was like not thinking long term.
Yeah.
Like I
if
don't
you're
know.
not in it for the long haul, then
Yeah.
that's what I'm interested in. So
Yeah.
goodbye.
Yeah. And I don't know. Anything that comes with age too, because sometimes people are like, oh, if you are in it for the long haul, I'm not going to continue dating you because that's a turn off. But I don't know.
So like basically I'm not interested. I'm like, this is like a fun time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been that kind of person ever. I never had like, I don't know, like I didn't date in high school, which was super weird. Like people were like, oh my God, are you a lesbian? I joked about being asexual one time to my group of friends, and they like asked me for like years, like, are you asexual? Are you actually asexual? I'm like, I'm really not. Like I can totally understand why you might think that, but I'm really not. I just don't like the guys here. Hence moving to Chicago.
That's interesting.
But yeah, I had a horrible time like finding guys that I would like think someone's attractive, and I would kind of get to know them, and I'd be like, wow, he's really gross. Like that sucks.
So you just like find things you don't particularly, and are these like habits or characteristics?
Yeah. Sometimes it's just like there was one guy I was interested in particular, and I heard him talking about another woman one time, and it was not in a way I would ever want to hear a man talking about a woman, and that like killed anything ever. Even though he was really funny and we like vibed and like had similar senses of humor, that totally killed it. So
Yeah.
I don't have any of those experiences.
you're so blessed, Amanda. I feel like you're like this little lucky person.
Yeah, that's like the perfect story.
Yeah, it is. Like my best friend, that's the situation she was in. I mean, she had like junior high boyfriends, but we didn't really consider them serious because they didn't kiss, and they all turned out to be gay, which was really funny. But she's with like her high school sweetheart, and they're like different, but they make it work. And I feel like what they have is really pure because they've never been with somebody else. So I feel like that is a huge plus.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm definitely like thankful for it.
Yeah.
I don't know, just like even when I was young, I just kind of like always like I know it's weird because I was like 10 years old, but I just kind of always knew like Shane was like the person for me. I mean, it's super cheesy to say, but
No, that's really cute.
Yeah, that is really cute. I feel like sometimes when you know, like, you know, like I knew right away with I dated a lot, and I had several boyfriends, and like I lived in the city, so it's not like there was a lack of options.
Yeah.
Like it was, but when Michael and I started dating, like my mom even knew, she's like, you really like this guy, like you're going to marry him. And she said that before I even was for sure about it. And so I feel like when you kind of know, you know, like there's a certain type of person that has to balance you out. I don't necessarily believe in like soulmates, but there is a certain type of personality that has to like balance your personality.
Yeah.
You know?
And I wonder if growing up together kind of helps that, because you're literally like, I mean, you're shaping every experience together. You're seeing them at the worst from the beginning of time in your relationship. I mean. So yeah, I feel like that would be super beneficial.
And I think also like it just, if you're like, this was any relationship, like a friendship, a romantic relationship, like if you spend so much time together, like especially when you're like young and you're like developing, it's like almost as if like you're just like morph like into like
one
this
person.
Like literally sometimes
You're Shamanda.
I'll like literally sometimes I'll just be like thinking something, and then Shane will like literally say it. I'm like, did you like just read my mind? Like, how is this possible?
Yeah.
But I mean, people say all the time that you're like, who you hang out with is like how you're going to act.
Yes. Yep.
So,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I think that Michael and I are kind of doing that now, or it's
I feel like that too. Like,
Yeah.
because, and I was friends with my boyfriend for a long time first, but I hated him at first, and we can go into that later if you want to.
Yeah.
But like, it gets better like every day, and it's not saying I would have expected. Everybody's like, oh, it's like a flame at first, and it slowly like wilts away, but that is totally not the experience I have. So I'm like, what was this, like a random crazy thing that's happening to me? I don't know. Like, we vibe better day after day, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. And I think like you like in a sense shape the other person. Like
Yeah.
you have your own characteristics and you have your own personality, but as you're with a person every day, you kind of like adjust or adapt to how the other person is. And I don't know, you can either go this way or you can kind of separate and go the opposite. But like for Michael and I, like one thing that kind of attracted me to him was the fact that he always stood his ground. Like all the guys that I dated in the past were they were the nice guys. Okay, they were very nice.
Yeah.
Like they were the type of guys that probably like would be the husband that is like happy wife, happy life, you know? And a lot of the times like my parents would probably be like, why didn't you marry that guy, you know, or why aren't you still with him? And I'm like, because he lacked a backbone.
yeah.
He was like way too nice. And there is such thing as way too nice.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing that kind of just attracted me towards Michael. Like I knew because I'm like, this guy stands his ground. And I think more times than not, like women respect that, you know?
Definitely. I feel like, and vice versa. Like, you
Yeah.
need someone who challenges you.
Yeah.
I think too, people can get into a pattern of dating like a similar kind of type of person, like over and over again, just
Yeah.
because that's what they've become comfortable with, and they're totally missing like the best compatibility like match out there.
Yeah.
Just because, oh well, like I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. They get like, I don't know, they get complacent and challenging and they just stick to what they're used to. Yeah.
Definitely. And I have friends that are like that too, and I'm always like, just go out with the go. Like,
Yeah, date
give
someone
them a
else.
chance. Like,
They pattern date, like the people who
Yes.
like they date, or the girls who like guys who are like total a-holes. And I'm like,
oh yeah.
you're dating this dude and then you get with somebody else and it's the same person, like same personality, and then they just do the same thing and it's like a cycle. And then you listen to them talk
Cry
about the guy and
and-
cry.
yeah.
It's like, how do you do it? It's so like amazing to me, that whole phenomenon. Like, oh man, I just love when people treat me like trash. Yeah. It's what makes me feel like home. I'm like, is it a psychological thing? Did their dad do that to them, or is this daddy issues that I'm seeing? Like,
You
never
start
know.
analyzing the
Yeah.
situation, you're like, what's really going on?
I know. I
Yeah.
always am. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see. Other topic.
Yeah, I know.
I wrote this down, but I don't remember it.
I said like biggest turnoff in a past relationship.
Oh, yeah.
I know. I mean, technically he has been a past relationship. He's like, not.
Well, if you want to know anything about Shane, is he can sleep literally anywhere.
Has that ever been a problem?
Yes,
it
actually.
would be.
I'm like, our friends think you don't like them. You sleep the whole time we hang out. Like, what are you doing?
I feel like that's a gift and a talent.
He's still sleeping. He's really sleeping through us like dogging him.
Yeah.
No, okay, I know one thing. Like, this actually just happened like a few months ago. We were like driving down the road, and Shane like had like a gum wrapper or something and literally threw it out the window on the ground. And I was like, I don't even know who I married. Yeah. I was like, what type
random
of
thing.
person does that? I was like, that is against everything that I believe in. And we had like this huge long conversation about it. And I was like, this is very serious to me. And he was like, I don't know. I didn't even think about it. I was like, well, next time think about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That is so funny. Go ahead with yours. I don't know. Let me think.
So one thing that I experienced in my previous relationship to my Benny, I was gonna say my Benny, isn't that like a song? I dated a guy that, oh my gosh, he was the worst, honestly. It's just, and he's not somebody that everybody would think is the worst, but he was like everything that annoyed me.
Yeah.
Within, I'd say like, this was during our first date, and it was probably within like the first 2 hours. He mentioned that every girl he had ever dated, he had broken up with them. And I was like, screw that. Like, that's not going to happen this time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm breaking your heart first. Like, I was 100% sure.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even, like, sure at that point if I was going to continue dating him. But, like, the fact that he told me that, it's like, it ticked, like, one kind of box in my mind. I was like, oh, okay, like, this is a challenge, you know? Like, it would be fun just to, like, get rid of that. I feel like he would still lie to people about it, but that's a whole other conversation. But that just, like, and it was, like, little things like that, the whole relationship, just, it's the type of confidence that you might think a woman wants to, like, see from you, but it's not. Nobody wants to hear that.
Kind of like
that makes me think
that's
you
like
have a problem.
conceitedness.
Yeah, that makes me think
Or-
you have a problem, not the other girl.
It's either that or he's like totally lying and he's just like has
And I
this
thought
huge
about that
ego.
too. I was like, this could be
you
a whole
know?
ruse to impress me, because the whole time, like, he was like, oh yeah, like, I could tell he was like trying to lay it on how great he was. And I think it was part of it because, like, I don't know, he was a bit complicated and maybe thought he didn't, like, deserve to be in a relationship with me, and he definitely didn't. But the funny thing is, at the end, he did break up with me, and I was wanting to break up with him. And I was like, no.
He did it first.
It was the worst.
He probably felt like that you were gonna break up with him. He just like rushed to it.
We
And I'm like,
we
just trying to keep your
knew,
track
like,
record.
the day before, like, it was just like.
Did you guys get,
we
like,
had
an
previously
argument
had
or something?
No, it's just, it
Like
was
mutual?
the worst kind of thing for me. I would rather have, like, a passionate, fiery argument, because that shows that
Yes.
there's some
Care.
kind of investment.
Yeah.
Those are the arguments you should be having. Yeah, like, how do you feel like we're going? Like, how this is going? It's like, oh, it's okay. Like, that was generally like the conversation we were having. And, like, as I walked out the door of his apartment that day, I remember thinking, this is, like, the last time I'm walking in this apartment for sure. Like, we have to, like, end the madness.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I didn't want to, because he was, like, the first person I got really attached to in Chicago. I mean, he was my first friend there. Don't make your first friend your boyfriend. It's a really bad idea when you move to a new city. But in general, like, I mean, it's good that they're your best friend, but make sure you have other friends outside of that relationship, because if it ends, you're screwed and alone. And that's what I was. And at the end, it wasn't even the fact that, like, oh, my heart was broken. It was, like, the friendship and, like, all the relationships and the companionship that I had there was gone. I was like, what am I gonna do? But oh my gosh, I have to tell the breakup story because it's heinous. I mean, it's heinous. So we walked to my apartment, and the whole time there, we said nothing. We were on a subway on the way to my apartment. I lived, like, fairly close by, so it was like probably a 5-minute ride, but it felt like 50 hours. Honestly, it was the most awkward thing. He had, like, a longboard with him. I was asking him questions about his longboard, like I gave a single crap, and I, like, could not care less. I was like, so where did you get that one? Oh, the wheels are, like, really bright green. Like, what color do you think that is? I mean, it was literally, I was like, in my head, I was like, why are you doing this? Like, this is horrible. You're making it so much worse.
You're trying to not have that awkward silence, just like
Silence
that.
would have been better. It was terrible. And once we got to my place, there was, like, this little fountain outside my place, and I could feel him, like, stopping. And mind you, we'd been together for 5 months, and that to me, that felt heavy at the time because it was my longest relationship. And he was, like I said, my only person there that I had, literally. Bad situation. So he knew that as well. So we kind of stop at the fountain, and we're just literally sitting. I'm like, okay, I guess. He's like, actually, you know, like, how do you think this is going? And literally, I'm, like, imitating him perfectly, I swear to God. I was like, yeah, not good. he's like, yeah, I feel the same way. He's like, I think we should break up. I was like, okay. Again, I was a little bit, like, because the weight of it was finally hitting me. I let it, like, there was relief.
Yeah.
But before there was, well, I don't know really which came first. I guess they kind of came at the same time. It was the relief, but I was like, oh no. Like, I felt devastated because I suddenly was in this tight partnership and I'm alone. Like, literally was spending every day with this person. And even if they aren't, I don't know if anyone else has ever been in that situation. Even if they're not, like, your people, if that makes sense, you still get attached to them. Like, there's people in my family that I know I wouldn't be friends with if they weren't in my family. Yeah. It was kind of like that. Like, we had a bond regardless. Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay. And I probably let it exhale. He's like, yeah, okay, I'm going to go now. And literally, went to turn. I was like, do you think we should like hug her or something? Like, because this was 5 months. I was spending every day with this person. He was like, oh, yeah, I guess. He was almost confused that I wanted to hug him. I was like, I'm probably never going to talk to you again. Like, this has been such a weird time for both of us. And we like had the most awkward hug ever. And he's like, okay, toodles, and like ran away.
He said no. He said toodles. Please
he said
don't.
Toodles. I'm so glad you find that as disturbing as I do.
That is awful.
I'm scarred by that till this day. He was like, toodles. Like, he was the most nervous person in the world, and like just ran. He had a longboard, he picked it up, and he ran. He ran for his life. Like, it was the weirdest thing ever. I'm like still scarred by it. It was one of the first stories I told my boyfriend because he used the word toodles, and I was like, okay, no, we're gonna have to not do that. You can't say that. It's ruined forever. So seriously, anytime I hear it now, I'm like I have a full body.
I'm pretty sure Michael used that word earlier.
He did, yeah, he did.
So I just stopped saying it, Michael, and he just kept saying it. So he's like dying hysterically over here. But yeah, worst breakup ever. And it's not even like, it wasn't even like, oh my God, we're meant for each other and we screwed it up or whatever. It was the most awkward breakup ever, therefore the worst in my opinion.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, I know. I feel like that's like a lot to follow. I've been talking for a really long time.
No, that sounds terrible. But now I'll never think of the word toodles the same. So when I watch,
I hope it sticks with you. Sorry, Michael.
When I watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse now, I'm gonna be like, oh, toodles.
I've ruined it for Michael too. I hope this guy listens to this. Like, I hope you're doing okay. Like, you're an okay guy. We just didn't know.
It wasn't working.
Yeah.
Didn't jive.
It wasn't working.
Didn't jive.
Yeah. And
Oh
the
my
breakup,
gosh.
like, what the hell? Like, sorry, like, oh my God, that was so weird. Like, seriously, if I saw him again, I would probably say to his face, I would be like, oh my God, like, what the fuck?
Maybe.
Like, what were you thinking? What was wrong with you? Were you, like, terrified I was gonna, like, break down? Like, why did you pick up the long part and run?
You probably thought you were going to start crying.
I need to know why you ran away. And maybe he was uncomfortable with, like, emotions because we had never even been emotional like that.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys were like more of like friends. Like that relationship just kind of like morphed into a friendship.
For me, but he was like the friend that was trying to bang me and I wasn't going to let it happen because I'm not like that.
Yeah.
No shade if you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I understand. It's kind of like when you have like that guy friend that totally likes you and is like trying really hard, but you're like, but you're a good friend, but they're just trying, and then it just becomes really awkward and weird.
And you give in and you're like, okay, like it doesn't make me vomit. Oh, Rob, why are you pointing to yourself?
Are you
It's not
friend?
you. It's not you because like I like you more than I liked this guy.
No, it's just I'm that guy.
But you have been that guy for other people.
I'm friends with all the girls, and then none of them are like, I want to date you.
You just get friend zoned easily because some people are just really good friends. Like that's happened to me too, where I've had like guy friends in the past and like, okay, like they had, a crush on me or whatever. But it's like, you're such a good friend. You know what I mean? Like I can't think of you in that way. And like, what do you think makes a guy like friendship material versus like boyfriend material? Because I think that there is a huge difference there.
I feel like that's hard.
To me,
For me, it's actually very simple.
Go ahead with yours.
If you're attracted to that person or not, and attraction is something that can build, but if you're constantly around that person and you don't even have that spark in your head, like, oh, what if I just kiss them right now? Because I have like that weird impulsive part in my head that always wants me to do weird things. Like, what if I drove off the side of the road? Like, I don't know. Apparently that's normal. I've like looked into that. But if you don't have that, if it's like you're that concentrated in the friend thing, there's not any kind of attraction there, you can't force it. I mean, you can try to kiss them, like, but I don't think you'll have good luck.
I think like, and maybe I'm just like totally thinking super deep into this, but also like what kind of drives that attraction? Because like for me in the past, like I've dated or I've been interested in guys who weren't like physically attractive, but they've been really like, I don't know, like they're just smooth. Like, you know what I mean? It's like the way that they like, it's like the way that they talk, because I feel like they go into it knowing that this is not going to be a friendship. Like this is going to be like, they know that I want to date her.
Like, I'm not even going to give you the chance to be friends with me.
Yes, I'm not even going to give you a chance to friend me. This is going to be like something. And then they just kind of like, it's maybe like a flirting thing and maybe it's something else. And that's kind of like Michael was like that. I feel like Michael right off the bat knew, and so we didn't even get to that point where I could have friended him. There was a point where he was super close because I did tell him I don't want to date you because I think you're too nice. And really to me that was like too nice was like, oh, he's like getting into that friend zone. And then he like flipped it really quick and was like
I could be a jerk.
And then he started like doing like, you know, kind of going that different direction where he kind of blocked the friendship aspect of it really fast. But I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a struggle that a lot of guys have is like getting friend zoned.
I think women get into it too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but I definitely think it's more of a man problem, unfortunately.
Well, yeah. I mean, guys have to pursue the woman. So, I mean, and that don't have to. Girls do too. But I'm saying like it's more
like
common
a
than
cultural
not.
and social
Yeah.
thing.
Well,
it's more
like,
common than not.
My sophomore year of high school, when me and Shane actually started dating, literally like 3 weeks before we started dating, he told me I was eternally friend zoned. Like quotations, eternally friend zoned.
Wow.
And at this point, I had been like trying to get him to like actually date me for like a month or two. And I was like, well, I'm not giving up. And then literally like a few weeks later, we were just like sitting there watching TV. And I was like, you know what, whatever, I'm just going to go for it. And I literally just like grew the biggest balls ever and just leaned over and kissed him. Literally like didn't even like look at
Whoa,
him.
go Amanda.
I know, I literally just didn't even look at him. Did it, turn. And then Shane goes, do you think we should talk about that? And I was like, about what?
That probably saved your
I think
relationship.
you just had a fever dream. I didn't do anything to you. Like, maybe you want to do, like, you're...
Yeah, so honestly, I mean, if someone tells you you're eternally friend zoned, maybe don't listen to them.
Yeah.
That's surprising.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe just go for
the
it
heck, Shane?
and see what happens.
I know. We're like, what in the heck?
Oh, yeah, just for reference, I'm checking my phone because I'm on a time constraint. I'm not, like, texting during your... I don't want anyone to feel bad. I'm all
you're
ears.
fine.
I'm here.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that probably saved your relationship. I mean,
Probably,
maybe
yeah.
it would have turned out different if you didn't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
That's
know.
crazy. So
So-
he owes you everything, basically, is what I'm
His
saying.
whole life.
To the viewers out
grateful.
there,
How about
if you
eternally
want to
grateful?
randomly try and kiss the person that you like, may
That
the
could
odds
go
be ever
really,
in your
really
favor.
bad, though. How old were you when this happened again?
I was 16, he was 15.
Okay.
Well, yeah, that's forgivable. Yeah, you at that age, you just try and do it.
I'm thinking if you're in your 30s and you maybe don't do that. Like you're both to the point where it's like,
Where you're established already.
Yeah.
You're just like, well, how about you just not sexually assault me?
right.
But
That's
yeah.
true though, and there's also like that double standard. If he had done that to you and you didn't want it to happen,
Yeah, then it could have been.
Yeah,
Yeah, that could have been totally different.
yeah, it's crazy. Why are they laughing so hard?
I don't know.
This conversation isn't that funny.
Well, going into the whole like kissing thing, whenever Michael and I argue, sometimes whenever I want to end the argument or if I'm in the wrong and he's just like super upset and I'm really upset, sometimes I will just like, lean over and kiss him. Because I mean, how are you going to
That,
like argue
yeah.
with somebody who's like really just trying to kiss you?
Right.
You just
Like,
get, you just get out of
if you
it.
lay like a good one on them, they'll totally forget what's going on.
Yeah, it's just like it kind of ends everything there. You're just
Yeah.
like, okay, well that's done.
I need to do that strategy more often.
It's an
I need
effective
to, like,
strategy.
Take advantage of that for sure.
It's an
It
effective
works.
strategy.
We have-
When someone's super mad at you, okay, well, your significant other. You just grab them and kiss
a
them.
little bit of time, we'll get along great. I swear.
Yeah. So it works on some people. So I don't know. It's kind of an effective strategy.
Don't try it on your grandma.
Yeah. Yeah. No one of blood relation, please.
Please, no.
I know we're in Southern Illinois, but incest is not a thing.
Even in this thing, I'm like laughing. Using my hands.
But yeah, I don't know.
Where were we?
I don't know. Back to topic.
Hold on a second.
Oh, turnoffs. Yeah.
We were in turnoffs.
Oh, okay. So if I can just go into one of the biggest turnoff for me, oddly enough, and I'm not going to say any turnoffs about my husband because he's perfect. I want to talk about next. One of the biggest turnoffs was dating somebody who was exactly like me. Like when I say exactly like me, I'm very competitive and I have a very fiery personality. Like I'm really like an adventure-seeking, thrilling type of person. And I dated somebody who was exactly like me. And I thought that that was a good thing at the time. Mm-hmm. And I realized that it totally was not. Like, you don't want to date someone because it's boring. And it's like, I realized I ended up just doing more, like, we had a lot of fun together, but then it just became like someone you hang out with to do thrill-seeking things. And then I just realized I'm just risking my life more and more to try and keep this relationship interesting. But I'm getting closer to death every day. I'm like, this is not working out. Like, and there was not really, like, it just became boring. Like, the actual relationship was boring with that person. Because I'm talking to somebody who's like myself. I don't know.
You're like, I talk to myself enough.
They're like, I completely agree.
Yeah, it was always like, I agree. And then whenever you fight, it's like there's no like medium because you're just fighting with yourself. And it's just, I think that was the biggest turnoff. And it's not really something that someone can control, but it's just like compatibility. Like you have to find somebody who's compatible with you, like someone who's different than you.
Right.
I mean, some people who are more mellow, I guess, they can date somebody who is like them because they like the stability and maybe they just don't get bored or anything. But I couldn't do that. That was a big turnoff for me, is someone who is just like me.
That's so interesting that you say that, because before I met Benny, I had this super specific guy in mind that was literally myself, and I'm like, well, gross, first of all. But even like, there were like things like jokes I would make that were like coming from a place of insecurity, and like I had a lot of that humor before I met him, and I still like kind of do, because it's, I mean, a working process. Yeah. And he brought it up to me randomly one day he's like, you know, don't you like feel bad? Like, don't talk about yourself that way. You're like demeaning yourself. And I was like, oh my God, I've never thought about it that way. And he's like constantly bringing like those kinds of new ideas into the forefront of my mind. And it makes me think again, kind of what you said. It's, you're not looking for, it's not a match game. It's like a puzzle piece. Like, it's somebody that like is going to fit you the right way.
Yeah, because can you imagine if you dated somebody who was exactly like you? Because
I would get so bored.
They would make jokes about themselves in the same way, and then you don't realize it, but there's all this negativity and demeaningness in your relationship, and you're like, wait, that's not what I intended.
And I even had someone in my life at the time, like, that was a friend of he was a friend of a friend, and I thought, like, oh, like, maybe, like, I wasn't, like, super duper attracted to him, so I didn't, like, go full into it, but I thought, okay, like, maybe I'll give it a shot. And we hung out with him one night, like, as a group. And just, like, I realized at the end of the night I didn't feel good because all of his humor was so negative. Yeah. And I was like, and this is after I was with Benny, too. And I was like, wow, like, no, like, he's right. Like, that doesn't make you feel good. Like, it might be funny in the moment, but it's almost like you're doing it more to make other people laugh. Yeah. But you feel better? Not really. Like,
humor is a big thing. Yeah. Like, dirty jokes, no. Oh my gosh, don't do the dirty joke thing. I mean, like, there is like a limit, but like when you're dating someone and then they start spewing out dirty jokes constantly, and that's just like so their natural humor, I'm like, no.
Where is this coming from?
Yeah, now that I'm married, you know, Michael, you know, if he cracks a dirty joke, I mean, we're married, it's different now, you know, but mainly his jokes now are dad jokes, and I think they're funny, but like, or puns, but I mean, there's like, the humor is important because it really tells a lot about a person.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, Shane's pretty funny, even though I try not to admit it. Shane does dad jokes too, and I'm like, you're not even a dad. Like, you're 22. You're not 40 years old.
Right. I'm pretty sure.
Stop wearing polos. What are you doing?
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God, yes. The polo thing. And I think
oh my gosh, Benny I'm old. I like polos.
Like, I think he does it for his job. He also does the thing where he like rips his pants off as soon as he gets home. And I just watched the Goldbergs before I came here, and like the 50-year-old dad did that. I'm like, oh my God, am I dating like a 4-year-old dad of like 4 kids? Like, and I realized like the humor, like the way he thinks about things. I'm like, you're an old man.
Yes, and like now that we've started like building a house, like it just got so much worse. He's like, what kind of wood would you like in the kitchen? Yeah. And he's like so excited about it.
When did we become the kind of couple that cares about what wood is in the kitchen? What happened?
I will have to admit, I think I'm old because every time Michael gets home, I'm like, can you change your pants? Please don't wear that on the bed. I'm like,
that makes sense because he's a prison guard.
Yeah, I mean, well, and like, even just like anywhere, like if he goes out in jeans, I'm like, oh, you're really gonna wear jeans in bed? I'm like, oh, please change. Like,
no jeans in bed.
I feel
no. I'm just so. I think
outside germs in the bedroom. No, get them out of here.
Yeah. I mean, I realize how much I've like changed so much, just like being married for so long. The things that I used to care about, I don't, and then vice versa. Now I I care about new things. Like you were talking about wood. I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, for Christmas, I really want like a new cast iron skillet. You know, it's just like, when did this become important? You know? And so I don't know. It's just weird how things change, and things in your significant other change too.
Yeah, I feel like that's the thing, like, a lot of people don't think about, and I see it in other relationships, even in my family, like, you're not the person I was married. I was like, my God, can you imagine if they were the same person you married, like, 20 years ago? Like,
oh my
how
gosh.
bizarre would that be? They're not having any personal growth at all. That's pretty weird. But, like,
yeah, Michael would hate me because I would be wild. Honestly, moving to Southern Illinois, like, domesticated me, I think.
I feel like it would anyone.
Yeah, it did, but
do you have any other choice? Like, it's like, I kind of have to.
True. That's true. I had to learn how to cook because I'm like, let me see, I can eat pizza or cheeseburger. Right. I'm like, there's only so many cheeseburgers I can eat, you know? I mean, there are other things, but when you come from San Diego in the city and you can eat you know, Thai food, and then you can eat Vietnamese food, and then sushi, and then you can eat Mexican food, like authentic Mexican food. It's just like, I don't know. I had to learn how to cook some stuff.
Yeah.
But
I feel that. I'm like still like learning to cook Nigerian food. I want to surprise him like a legit Nigerian like
a dish.
buffet. Like I think it would be amazing. I mean like I couldn't do like a one-woman buffet, realistically, but like make like 4 dishes. That's like a buffet for me.
Yeah. So do you like Nigerian food? Like a lot? Have you tried a lot of it, or is it just like the main dishes?
I think I've tried a decent amount. I think my boyfriend would disagree. I've tried yam, and it's called draw soup, and it's like a gooey soup that. Okay, first of all, it's pounded yam. I didn't even know what a yam was until
like
I started dating.
It's
like
kind of like a sweet
potato.
potato
That's like kind of salty. But they pound it until it's like this weird, I don't know how to, it's like the texture of nothing I've felt before. All I can think is like Play-Doh, but softer.
Yeah.
And you put like the stew in it. You like make a little cup out of it, and I've seen him do it, and I still can't do it right. And it like sucks up the draw soup, and they just like,
that's kind of cool, actually.
It is cool. It's really interesting to watch. I just can't do it. Like the draw soups, like the soups I can't do because I'm very like texture-y with my food. Like the texture has to be something I'm used to, or I have to get used to it. And a lot of the meat they cook is tough. So like the chewiness, it's a struggle. It's not one of the like, it's not like Asian food where you can like pick it up right away and be like, oh dang, this is delicious. Like and even he said it's kind of like an acquired taste. And people in Nigeria, they don't so much eat for like, oh my God, like I want to taste good. Yeah, it tastes good as like for health reasons. Like, hey, I want to live a long life and be healthy. Yeah. And like here in America, we don't really do it like that. So it's an adjustment. There are things I like. I love jollof rice. Jollof rice I could eat all the time. Like,
interesting.
It's rice again.
And your boyfriend
back to rice.
back to rice.
He's never cooked Nigerian food for me.
Really?
I'm legit her. I've told him so many times. I'm like, you need to cook Nigerian food for me. Yeah. I cook American for you all the time. Because it's all that I cook. I like put those raviolis that come in the package in the oven. Like, what's wrong? Yeah, terrible.
Huh. Well, that's interesting. Well, maybe you should suggest
when he
that.
hears this. I mean, if like. Because when will this go out? We don't even know. If I still haven't had
year
like
2020.
Nigerian 2020. I mean, that's next year, so that's probably realistic.
Yeah.
If he hasn't made it, like, he's gonna get a whooping. A whooping with a spatula. Also, whip your boyfriends. No, I'm kidding.
With spatulas.
The ones with lots of holes. I feel like I know what I'm talking about, but I swear I don't.
So, are you speaking from experience?
No. I don't think I've ever whipped him like in a non-playful way.
I don't think I've ever whipped Michael.
Just imagine you whipping Michael.
I don't think I have. And if I did, I'm pretty sure I hurt my hand more.
Oh yeah, you have to use that. You can't use like salt hand.
I have to use like a tool.
Especially if like my boyfriend, like, he has like quite the badonkadonk and it's like muscle. Like you could hurt yourself. You could like break your hand.
Yeah, so you have to use a tool. See, Michael's faster than me, so I feel like he'd run away, and my little itty bitty legs would be struggling to keep up. Because
you would have to do it when he's asleep.
Yeah.
I'm helping you.
But I don't know if he would wake up because he's quite the deep sleeper. Like, he can literally sleep through anything. And I'm like, I don't understand how you're still sleeping.
Yeah, Shane too. There was literally, like, fun fact, there was literally police shining lights in our house the other night.
Why?
It's a long story. But anyway, they were literally, like, shining lights in our windows. Shane had no didn't know what was going on at all. And like all of our dogs are like freaking out. And
Oh,
he's just
barking like
snoring.
crazy.
Yeah, just snoring.
I don't know how they do it. I'm really envious though, and I feel like that's a male thing too. Like all the men in my family. My alarm's about to go off.
Michael used to do that. Well, he sleeps deep now, but I think it's because he works nights, and during the day, all of our children and like everything is crazy and hectic and noisy. But before, like there was a time that he didn't work nights, he was a super light sleeper. Like you'd hear something drop and he would be up and.
That's how I am. I just like cannot sleep through anything. Like a leaf touches the window, I'm like, hello.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Talking about things that are like attractive, because we talked about turnoffs.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I find like super attractive is whenever a guy is like courageous. I know that sounds brave. Yeah. Like I know that sounds like weird.
Ways?
Okay. I'm gonna give you an example. Years back, before we even had kids, we used to live at this place in San Diego, and it was like crackhead city, okay? Like, you did not want to live there. It was so bad. Like,
I love Crackhead City. I have vacation there every summer.
like, it's a real place, okay? It was where we lived. And you could see, like, just tweakers walking past. Like, someone tried to break into our car in our driveway.
Oh, my gosh.
There was, like, KKK. Like, it was bad.
In California?
Yes, in
Wow,
San
that's
Diego, in
wild.
El Cajon. So you guys know, viewers who live in El Cajon. So anyway, it was in the middle of the night, and we heard like this loud, like, bang. And Michael, he keeps like okay, we're not going to go into too much detail, but he keeps like a weapon near the bed, okay? And he just like grabs it.
Yeah.
And he just like goes out there and starts clearing the whole house and the outside. And I'm just like, whoa. Like, I felt like he just
Like it was a bat.
he like runs
like,
to danger. And like most people are like, oh, I wouldn't want my husband to do this or do that. But I'm like, no, I feel like that's like, I want that protective instinct. Some guys are cowards. Like they just kind of like run from the danger. But I'm like, I want you to run towards the danger. Like that is something that should kind of be, I don't know. I feel like that's something that a guy kind of should have. Because if I'm protecting you and we're in a relationship, I'm not much to work with. I would probably lose.
Right.
So I don't know. I think that's something that's attractive, or just the kind of that, even if you're not like married, if you're just dating and there's a guy that kind of, when we were dating, there's another story. We went to Chili's and this guy said like a super like, I think he hit on me, or he said something about my butt. I don't even remember. Or no. He said, he was talking to his friend. He's like, oh, remember when we used to get him that good or that young? And like looked me up and down. And Michael just like lost it. And I feel like that's kind of like a protective nature too. That kind of goes hand in hand. It's not like so I don't know. I think that's definitely something that's attractive.
Yeah.
You don't want to get with a guy who's
someone
a
that's
coward.
gonna like defend your honor, I think, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
Ironically, I don't know if I've ever been hit on in front of my boyfriend, and it's hilarious because I'll like go to meet him somewhere and I'll get like stalked on the train by somebody that's like, please just give me your number. It's not a big deal. Give me your number. Like just, you never know who you're going to meet on the train. Like, every time you sell me drugs, they're like, what's going on? Just take it. Just like throws it at me.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, oh my God, this guy, like the other, I don't even want to say like the comment, but I was on my way to meet him and some guy made a comment, I guess it caught the attention of another guy across the street. The guy across the street ran across the street and was like, hey, yo, so I just found you very attractive. Can I get your number? I was like, I'm on my way to meet my boyfriend. It was just like the weirdest thing ever. Like to have like two in that short period.
Yeah.
But the one guy like screaming what he did, which he was basically like, it was a cat call.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Also, catcalling is a huge turn off. Don't do that ever.
Don't catcall.
That's pretty epic.
What did he say? I'm
That
sorry.
was a tag team.
Yeah, right. He was like, oh, I got you. If you can't get her number, I'll try. Like,
He's
that's what
like,
it felt
okay.
like.
He's like, my chances are higher because one's already been rejected. You're like,
The odds are in my favor. Right. Eventually she'll have to say yes. But, oh my gosh, where was I even going with this? I can't even remember.
They never hit on you in front of your boyfriend.
Oh, yeah.
Only
Yes,
when you're
but-
like on the way.
But we were on vacation in Cancun, and there was this white southern lady in her 40s, probably, maybe 50s, that was like drunk, came up to him, she's like, oh, you got some shoulders on you. Like, was just like being so bizarre. And we were like on a date at the table. And I was like, do I say something? I'm not sure what to do. She's pretty drunk.
Yeah.
And eventually, like, the waiter came over and was like, okay. And the best part is her whole family was there. I mean, there were like children, and they like had no idea that she had walked over to our table and just like started like hitting on him like crazy.
Oh my
But the whole
gosh.
time I was like, should I have done something? Like, I know that's something like we expect men to do more. I was like, should I have been like, hey, you're making him uncomfortable? Because he was like,
Guys get
so
weird.
what do you do?
Yeah. Guys
I mean,
get
she
weird
was
and
rubbing his
uncomfortable.
chest. Like, it was bizarre.
She's touching
She
him.
did like a...
My God.
It was the weirdest thing ever. I was like, apparently she finds you really attractive. I
Yeah.
mean, congratulations.
Okay,
Like-
here's the thing in my experience, guys get weird when older women hit on them because an older woman hit on Michael too. And it was actually a friend's aunt. And like she was such a cougar, okay? And she hit on him like she was making these comments and I'm like, I don't know if I'm supposed to say something.
Like,
And like,
do you see me
and I
here?
feel like he just got like really like weird and awkward because she's like an older lady. Like you just don't expect that
Yeah,
from like an
it's like
older
you can't
woman.
like punch her in the face.
Yeah, so you're just kind of stuck like with this awkward like. What do you do?
Actually he moved her hand at one point,
Yeah.
but that's the most he did. He was like, but he was like visibly uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when they're like touching you, and are like, okay, that's gonna like
They're
that's
crossing
too
the
far.
line. Yeah. Like you could officially get sued right now. No jokes.
Yeah. But
Yeah. I mean, we could end it there. I feel like we ended on a high note. Question mark.
yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so I think we covered like a lot of the main topics, though.
Yeah, we did.
You
We
know.
did. What I had written anyway. So
Yeah.
we got
covered
there.
a lot of main topics. So hopefully that helps out any of our viewers that are looking.
And if not, at least it was entertaining. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Like, I mean. Or at least you won't have a breakup as bad as or as awkward as my previous breakup.
Toodles.
Toodles, guys. At least we're
Yeah.
saying that at the end
And
of
if
the
there are
podcast.
any guys who are like, I have more questions, feel free to like ask them somewhere on the
on the
website.
Insta or something.
Right, and they can
On
reach out
the
to us and we can.
Spotify, it's on there. And the
Post your
Dot
questions.
Ninja.
Podcast.ninja.
Just play nonsense. Ninja.
yeah.
There's
Post your
actually
questions.
a Patreon. You can like meet us if you give us money or something.
Amanda's on it
Yeah,
tonight.
Facebook, Insta, Twitter, all of those.
Post your questions somewhere, and then if you want like another podcast or you have more
We
questions,
can do a part two. This has been fun.
Yeah,
so,
it's actually really fun.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of people who kind of don't know what women are thinking. And
Yeah,
just
they
kinda wanna
always,
know.
they
Candid.
always say that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there are
They
some
never
guys
know.
out there that like just they can't connect with girls or they can't connect with women, and they're like, I kind of have like questions or where did I go wrong? You know, post your questions.
Yeah, we could have like a column, like an
Yeah.
Ask Carrie or something.
Yeah.
None of us are Carrie, but hopefully that didn't confuse people.
Yep.
All right. So that was the relationships from the female perspective. We want to thank all you guys for watching. I want to thank all these ladies for being here.
Me and Robert have it put off to the side, so
Yeah,
Obviously.
Michael wouldn't sit still, so I had to tape him up. So we want to thank all you guys for watching. We want to thank all of them for being here. And so go check out us. I always want to say go check out us. Because I don't know how to talk.
go check out us.
Go check us out at YouTube, justplaynonsense.ninja. You can listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, all that good stuff. Anywhere you can find your podcast, go to our store. And then also, some of the stuff that the girls were talking about earlier, if you guys want to have a discussion about any of this stuff, if there's any of you who are like, I have questions or I'm curious and you want to actually have their opinions, not ours. If you want their opinions, go ahead and leave a comment on this video or on our website. And then if we get enough interest, we may actually do a live one where they answer your questions live. That'd be a lot of fun.
That'd be fun.
All right, so I think that's it. Michael, have fun sleeping like that.
Thanks. Toodles. You like that?
Peace.
I just like slowly. Can I do that? Is that allowed on the channel?
I'll blur it out. Did you do that?
Yeah, I did it so you can blur it out.
Awesome.
have a big one extra straight. Did you take
So,
Did you
look
take
at
your
how
hair,
the
Amanda?
hair's on there. It's gonna,
What? Oh,
just
the
do,
hair?
just do it
I
quick.
meant for him to bring the other one, but.
I don't want to think about
I
it.
got a huge one.
No, when they cut loose and pull on here.
Oh, buddy, see ya. Yeah, it's great seeing you. It's
For the
good
people,
meeting
bro.
you.
Hashtag for you.
We actually got
It's for you.
through our conversation. That's done.
This is the kind of stuff that we need to do.
Well, they said
Hey, look how cool I look. Hey, see, look how cool I look. Ready?
Can I pull these off your arm?
You took me up here to visit your parents.
You ready?
And stuff.
Yes, I'll
Ooh,
probably be back
okay.
in like a month or so.
Just keep going fast like that.
Ready?
Yeah, just go. Just do it all.
Here, let me pull this off your shirt.
That one actually real
Or
there.
you can
Let me
split
pull this
your
off your
right
shirt.
side so you can rip off the page.
Just do it quick. Come on. Think about it.
All right, you ready?
Yep. That was a $100.
Learn from your mistakes.
That's it.
The only one that hurt was that one.
Right?
Those were
Your
slow.
hips. Okay, yeah. Take your hips.
Nothing hurt as bad as when I waxed my shoulder in high school.
Now you look like Nelly. Now you look like Nelly.
From Nelly.
Do I need to tell a story on the podcast?
Oh, yeah.
I was talking about the time I waxed my shoulder because I lost a bet in high school.
Oh my gosh, we can go on a tangent about all the stories.
Yeah, fun.